The queasy wave hit me like a subway car at rush hour, and I doubled over the sink in my cramped Brooklyn apartment, staring at the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test that screamed a truth I wasn't ready for. This can't be happening, I whispered to my reflection, but the mirror threw back the memory of that electric night in Manhattan, her piercing blue eyes locking onto mine across the crowded bar. Sloane Hargrove, the infamous CEO whose reputation for cutting deals and hearts preceded her, had turned my world upside down in one reckless evening, and now I was carrying her child. Addison Reed, that's me, a 28-year-old graphic designer scraping by in the city that never sleeps, dreaming of making it big with my illustrations while juggling freelance gigs and student loans that felt like chains around my neck. New York had always been my muse and my monster, its towering skyscrapers a reminder of ambitions unfulfilled. I'd moved here from a small town in Ohio 5 years ago, chasing the American dream, but reality was more like a grind. Overpriced coffee, endless subway delays, and a string of failed relationships that left me wary of love. That fateful Friday night started like any other. I was at the Velvet Lounge, a trendy spot in Chelsea where artists and execs mingled under dim lights and thumping bass. My best friend Mia had dragged me out to celebrate landing a small commission for a book cover. "You need to loosen up, Addie," she'd said, shoving a cocktail into my hand. I sipped it slowly, scanning the room when I spotted her, Sloane. She was perched at the bar alone, her tailored black suit hugging her athletic frame, dark hair slicked back, exuding an aura of untouchable confidence. Everyone knew Sloane Hargrove, the 35-year-old powerhouse behind Hargrove Tech, a startup turned empire in AI solutions. Tabloids called her ruthless, a shark who devoured competitors without a second thought. But that night her eyes held a flicker of something else, loneliness perhaps. Our gazes met, and before I knew it, she was sliding onto the stool next to me. "You look like someone who's seen too much of this city's bullshit," she said, her voice low and velvety with that crisp East Coast edge. I laughed, surprised by her directness. "And you look like someone who dishes it out." We talked for hours about art, ambition, the cutthroat world of business. She confessed her company was on the brink of a massive merger, but personally she was adrift. "I want a family," she admitted after our third drink, her guard slipping. "But who has time for that in this rat race? And carrying a child? Impossible with my schedule." It turned out Sloane had frozen her eggs years ago, a practical move for a woman climbing the ladder. In a haze of alcohol and connection, she floated an insane idea. "What if you helped me? Be my surrogate. I'd pay handsomely, cover everything." I was stunned, but the vulnerability in her eyes pulled at me. We left together, not for anything physical beyond a lingering hug, but for a clinic the next morning where, impulsively, I agreed to the procedure using her egg and a donor. It was meant to be clinical, detached. But as the doctor confirmed the implantation, I felt a spark, something deeper. Weeks blurred into a routine of checkups and cautious optimism. Sloane was attentive at first, sending flowers and checking in via text. "This means everything to me, Addison," she'd say. But as her merger heated up, the calls dwindled. I started feeling the changes in my body, the nausea, the fatigue, and doubt crept in. Was this just a business transaction to her? One evening, alone in my apartment, I scrolled through news articles about her. Hargrove crushes rival in hostile takeover. Ruthless indeed. Then came the first ultrasound. The technician pointed to the screen. A tiny heartbeat. Tears stung my eyes. This was real. I texted Sloane a photo, but her reply was curt. "Great. Busy with meetings. Talk soon." My heart sank. What had I gotten into? As the pregnancy progressed, I threw myself into my art, sketching scenes of New York motherhood, strollers in Central Park, families on brownstone stoops. Mia was my rock, reminding me this was temporary. "You're giving her a gift, Addie. Don't get attached." But how could I not? The baby kicked for the first time during a rainy afternoon in a coffee shop, and I placed my hand on my belly, whispering, "Hey there, little one." Sloane finally showed up for an appointment, looking harried in her power suit. "Everything okay?" she asked, barely glancing at the monitor. We grabbed lunch afterward, and for a moment the old spark returned. She opened up about her childhood in Boston, absent parents who prioritize careers over cuddles. "I don't want that for my kid," she said softly. I reached across the table, our fingers brushing. Our kid, I corrected gently. Her eyes widened and she pulled back. This is my child, Addison. Remember the contract. That night I lay awake, the city lights filtering through my blinds. The contract. Yes, I'd signed it, waiving rights for a hefty sum that would pay off my debts and fund my dream studio. But emotions weren't part of the deal. As weeks turned to months, Sloane's distance grew. She canceled visits, citing board meetings and travel. Rumors swirled in the press about her dating a high-profile investor, Elena Vargas, a stunning venture capitalist known for her own cutthroat style. Jealousy gnawed at me, irrational but real. Was I just a vessel to her? During a routine checkup, the doctor mentioned a minor complication, gestational hypertension. I called Sloane in panic, but it went to voicemail. Alone in the exam room, I cried, feeling the weight of this life inside me, a bridge between us that she seemed eager to burn. The turning point came at a gala Sloane invited me to, ostensibly to network. Dressed in a flowing maternity gown, I felt out of place among the elite. Sloane introduced me as my surrogate, her tone clinical. Elena was there, hanging on her arm, whispering in her ear. As the night wore on, I overheard them in a corner. She's just the carrier, darling. Once the baby's here, she's out. Betrayal sliced through me like a knife. I confronted Sloane later in her penthouse overlooking the Hudson. Is that all I am? A means to an end. Tears streamed down my face. She sighed, rubbing her temples. Addison, this was always business. I can't afford distractions. But her eyes betrayed her regret, maybe love. We argued into the night, voices echoing off marble floors. You made me feel something real that night, I shouted. Was it all a lie? She stepped closer, her hand hovering over my belly. No, she whispered. But I'm terrified of messing this up. The argument lingered like a storm cloud over the city, but life and pregnancy marched on. I was in my second trimester now, the bump prominent, drawing stares on the F train. My illustrations took on a new depth, infused with the swirl of emotions. Sketches of intertwined hands, cityscapes at dawn symbolizing new beginnings. Mia urged me to focus on myself. Sloane's world is toxic, Addie. Protect your heart. But how? The baby was a constant reminder. Its movements a dialogue only I could hear. Sloane reached out the next day with an apology email, formal like a business memo. I value your role in this. Let's meet. We did, at a quiet cafe in the village. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. The merger was falling apart, she explained, competitors sabotaging her. I need this deal to secure the future, for the child. Her hand trembled as she sipped coffee. For the first time I saw the cracks in her armor. We talked honestly about fears, dreams. She admitted Elena was a distraction, a way to numb the pressure. But you're different, Addison. You see me. Our conversation stretched into evening walks along Washington Square Park, leaves crunching underfoot. Romance bloomed subtly. No grand gestures, just shared silences and accidental touches. As fall painted the city in oranges and reds, our bond deepened. Sloane attended more appointments, her face lighting up at the ultrasounds. It's a girl, the doctor announced one crisp morning. We both teared up. Outside in Central Park, Sloane took my hand. Thank you for this miracle. I leaned into her, the autumn breeze carrying whispers of possibility. We spent weekends together. Her teaching me about tech over brunch in Soho, me showing her my art studio in Bushwick. One evening as we watched the sunset from her rooftop, she confessed, I never planned to fall for you. My heart raced. Me neither. It was romantic, tentative like the city itself, full of promise and peril. But drama lurked. Elena, sensing the shift, launched a smear campaign in the business world, leaking stories about Sloane's unstable personal life. Tabloids exploded. CEO's surrogate scandal. Love or leverage? My phone buzzed with notifications, strangers judging our story. Sloane's board pressured her to distance herself. This could tank the merger, she fretted during a late-night call. I felt the strain, my blood pressure spiking again. At a checkup, the doctor warned of preeclampsia risks. Reduce stress, she advised. Easier said than done. The betrayal hit like a thunderbolt. I discovered Sloane had met with lawyers to amend the contract, ensuring full custody without visitation rights for me. Mia found the documents online, hacked perhaps by Elena's allies. "She's cutting you out, Addie." Devastated, I confronted Sloane at her office in Midtown, the glass tower a symbol of her empire. Security let me up, and I burst into her boardroom mid-meeting. "How could you?" I yelled, tears flowing. The room fell silent. Sloane ushered me out, her face pale. "It's to protect us from the media, from complications." But her excuses rang hollow. "You promised something real," I sobbed. She pulled me into a hug, but I pushed away. "I can't do this anymore." I retreated to my apartment, curling up with my sketches. The baby kicked furiously as if sensing my turmoil. Days blurred into isolation. I ignored Sloane's calls. Mia brought soup and solidarity. "You're strong, Addie. You don't need her." But I did, or at least the version of her I'd glimpsed. Then came the high point of conflict. A hospital scare. Alone at night, sharp pains sent me rushing to the ER. Doctors stabilized me, but it was touch and go. Sloane arrived hours later, disheveled, having fought traffic from a gala. "I was terrified," she admitted, holding my hand. "Losing you both." In that sterile room, walls came down. She confessed her fears. Abandonment issues from her past, the pressure to be perfect. "I pushed you away to avoid hurting you." We cried together, forging a fragile truce. Recovery brought clarity. We attended therapy sessions, couples counseling, even though we weren't officially together. Sloane scaled back work, delegating to save the merger without sacrificing us. Romance reignited. Picnics in Prospect Park, late-night talks about raising a daughter in this chaotic city. "We'll make it work," she vowed. But shadows remained. Elena sued for breach of some vague agreement, dragging Sloane into court. The stress tested us, but we held on, our love a quiet rebellion against the ruthlessness of New York ambition. As winter approached, snow blanketing the streets, I felt a sense of peace. The baby, our little Aurora, we decided, symbolized hope. Sloane moved me into her penthouse for monitoring, turning it into a home with my art on the walls. One snowy evening, as we decorated a nursery overlooking the twinkling lights, she knelt. "Marry me, Addison. Not for the child, but for us." My heart swelled. "Yes," I whispered. It was romantic, human, flawed but real. Yet, the merger's final hurdle loomed. A vote that could make or break Hargrove Tech. Sloane poured herself into it, but promised balance. I supported her, our partnership strengthening. In those moments, I saw the personnel growth. From ruthless CEO to vulnerable partner. The merger vote was a battlefield in a sleek conference room high above Times Square, neon lights flickering below like distant fireworks. Sloane paced before it, her team rallying around her. I waited at home, anxiety gnawing as I rubbed my belly. "Hang in there, Aurora," I murmured. When Sloane called victorious, "We did it." Relief washed over me. She rushed back, sweeping me into a kiss that tasted of triumph and tears. "This is for our future." That night, we celebrated with takeout from our favorite Thai spot, planning a life beyond contracts. But victory was short-lived. Elena, bitter from defeat, escalated her attacks. She leaked private emails to the press, twisting our story into a tabloid frenzy. "CEO buys love and a baby?" Protesters gathered outside Sloane's building, chanting about exploitation. My face was plastered online, strangers debating my motives. "Gold digger," some called me. The stress triggered another hypertension spike. Doctors ordered bed rest. Sloane hired security, but the invasion felt personal. "I'm sorry," she said nightly, massaging my feet. "I dragged you into this mess." Our romance endured, but cracks formed, arguments over her late hours, my growing resentment. The high drama peaked at a court hearing for Elena's lawsuit. Sloane testified confidently, but Elena's lawyer ambushed with evidence. Forged documents suggesting I'd coerced Sloane into the surrogacy for money. Lies but damaging. The judge adjourned, leaving us in limbo. That evening in our penthouse, Sloane broke down. "What if I lose everything? The company, you, the baby?" I held her, our roles reversing. "We'll fight together." It was a moment of deep emotion, vulnerability binding us tighter. As spring thawed the city, buds blooming in parks, so did our resolve. We hired a top PR firm to counter the narrative, sharing our story authentically in an interview with a sympathetic journalist. This isn't about power, it's about love, Sloane said on camera, her hand on mine. The piece went viral, shifting public opinion. Support poured in. Messages from LGBTQ+ families praising our journey. It humanized Sloane, softening her ruthless image. With the lawsuit dismissed, Elena's forgeries exposed, peace settled. My due date neared, excitement mingling with nerves. Sloane took paternity leave early, transforming into the partner I dreamed of. We attended birthing classes in Brooklyn, laughing at awkward poses. Romance flourished. Candlelit dinners, walks along the High Line where wildflowers mirrored our wild hearts. You've changed me, she confessed one sunset. For the better. But a final betrayal loomed, subtle yet shattering. During a routine file sort, I found hidden emails from Sloane's assistant. Discussions about relocating the company to Silicon Valley post-birth, without consulting me. For the child's opportunities, one read. Hurt surged. You're planning to leave New York? Us. I confronted her over breakfast. She admitted it, eyes downcast. It's business, Addie. Better schools, cleaner air. Rage boiled. This is my home. Our home. The argument escalated, echoing past wounds. You're still the ruthless CEO, putting empire over everything. She left for a walk, returning hours later with flowers and remorse. I was wrong. We'll stay. But trust was frayed. Therapy helped unpack it. Her fear of stagnation, my insecurity from small-town roots. We rebuilt brick by emotional brick. Labor came unexpectedly on a humid June day. Pains hit during a museum visit. Sloane rushed me to the hospital. Hours of agony followed, her hand in mine whispering encouragements. You're incredible, she said through my screams. When Aurora arrived, tiny wailing with Sloane's blue eyes, joy overwhelmed us. Holding her, Sloane sobbed. Our family. In that moment, all drama faded, leaving pure love. Postpartum brought new challenges. Sleepless nights, hormonal shifts. Sloane juggled work from home, proving her commitment. We married quietly in Central Park, surrounded by cherry blossoms and close friends. Mia was maid of honor, toasting our resilience. To love that conquers all. Yet, the story's humanism shone in quieter ways. Sloane donated to surrogacy advocacy, using her platform for good. I launched my art exhibit, inspired by our journey, paintings of New York resilience, families in all forms. Aurora thrived, her giggles filling our home. As months passed, we reflected on the roller coaster. The one-night spark, betrayals, redemptions. It wasn't easy, Sloane said one evening as we watched Aurora sleep. But it was worth it. Our love, forged in fire, emerged stronger. A testament to human connection in a city of steel and dreams. With Aurora's first birthday approaching, life settled into a rhythm that felt almost normal in the chaos of New York. Mornings were a blur of diaper changes and coffee, Sloane sneaking kisses before Zoom calls, me sketching while the baby napped. Our penthouse, once sterile, now burst with color. Toys scattered, my canvases leaning against walls. But beneath the domestic bliss, old tensions simmered. Sloane's company boomed post-merger, demands pulling her away. Just one more trip, she'd say, packing for San Francisco. I nodded, but loneliness crept in, amplified by motherhood's isolation. Drama resurfaced when Elena reemerged. Not as a foe but a reformed ally? She reached out via email, apologizing for the havoc. I've started therapy, she wrote. Let's meet. Sloane hesitated, but curiosity won. They lunched in neutral territory, a cafe in Tribeca. I trusted her, but jealousy flickered. What did she want? I asked later. Closure, Sloane replied. And to warn me about a rival plotting a takeover. It seemed benign, but seeds of doubt planted. The conflict escalated at a company gala. Sloane insisted I attend, Aurora with a sitter. Dressed elegantly, I mingled but overheard whispers. The surrogate wife, how quaint. Elena was there, poised and charming. As the night progressed, I caught them in deep conversation, Elena's hand on Sloane's arm. Paranoia surged. Back home I exploded. Are you seeing her again? Sloane denied it vehemently. It's business, Addie. Why can't you trust me? The fight unearthed buried resentments. Her past ruthlessness, my fear of abandonment. You treated me like a contract once, I hurled. What's stopping you now? We slept apart that night, the city lights mocking our divide. Morning brought apologies, but the rift lingered. Therapy sessions intensified, unpacking layers. I feel like I'm losing myself in motherhood, I confessed. Sloan admitted. Work is my safety net. I'm scared of failing as a parent. Vulnerability bridged us, leading to compromises. Sloan cut travel, I pursued art classes for balance. Romance rekindled through small acts. Surprise picnics in Battery Park. Dancing in the kitchen to old jazz records. One weekend we escaped to the Hamptons, Aurora giggling at ocean waves. Under starlit skies, Sloan renewed her vows informally. You're my anchor. Emotions ran deep, reminding us why we fought for this love. But the ultimate test came with a health scare. Aurora developed a high fever, rushing us to the ER. Doctors diagnosed a viral infection, treatable but terrifying. Sloan crumbled, blaming herself for a recent trip. If I'd been here. I held her. We're in this together. The ordeal humanized us further, emphasizing fragility in our fast-paced world. Post-recovery, we focused on community. Sloan mentored young LGBTQ+ entrepreneurs, sharing her story of redemption. I volunteered at art therapy programs for new moms, finding purpose. Our family grew stronger. Aurora's first steps, a milestone celebrated with cake and laughter. Yet, betrayal's shadow returned subtly. Digging through old files for tax season, I found undisclosed emails. Sloan had considered Elena's job offer for a joint venture. Just exploring options, she explained when confronted. Hurt, I questioned everything. Is our life not enough? The argument peaked in tears but led to growth. Sloan declined the offer publicly, choosing family over ambition. As fall returned, painting the city golden, we planned Aurora's party. A simple gathering in Central Park. Friends toasted our journey. From one-night impulse to enduring bond. Mia pulled me aside. You've built something beautiful, Addie. I nodded, watching Sloan chase our daughter through leaves. Love wasn't perfect, but it was ours. The story's climax built to a quiet revelation. During a stormy night, power out, we huddled by candlelight. Sloan opened up about her deepest fear, repeating her parents' neglect. You've shown me how to love fully. I shared my own, fading into the background. But with you I shine. In that intimacy we recommitted, vowing transparency. Humanism defined our ending. We sponsored a surrogacy fund, helping others navigate similar paths with compassion. My art flourished, a gallery show featuring pieces on modern families. Sloan balanced boardrooms with bedtime stories, her ruthless edge softened by fatherhood, weight, motherhood's joy. As Aurora turned 2, our life in New York felt like a tapestry woven from threads of trial and triumph. The city, with its relentless energy, mirrored our resilience, surviving scandals, scares, and self-doubt. Sloan's company thrived under ethical leadership, her once ruthless decisions now tempered by empathy. I published a graphic novel inspired by our story, anonymous but cathartic, earning acclaim for its raw portrayal of love's complexities. But peace was tested one last time. A former colleague of Sloan's, bitter from the merger fallout, leaked internal memos suggesting financial improprieties tied to our surrogacy payments. Headlines blared. CEO's personal payouts under scrutiny. The board called an emergency meeting. Investors panicked. Sloan faced potential ousting. This could ruin us, she confided, pacing our living room. I stood firm. We'll face it head on. The investigation dragged on, media hounding us. We shielded Aurora, escaping to a cabin upstate for solace. Amid pine trees and quiet lakes we reconnected. Long walks, heartfelt talks. I regret the secrets, Sloan admitted by a campfire. But not us. Romance sparked anew, simple and profound, holding hands under stars, whispering futures. Back in the city we rallied allies. Elena, now a friend, testified on Sloan's behalf, exposing the leaker's vendetta. The board cleared her, but the ordeal left scars. Time for change, Sloan decided, stepping down as CEO to consult part-time. Family first. It was a bold move, humanizing her further in the press. From ruthless to redeemed. With freedom we traveled. Aurora's wide eyes at Disney, our laughter in Paris cafes. Back home, I opened an art studio in Brooklyn, mentoring young creators. Sloan volunteered at women's shelters, sharing her journey of vulnerability. The story's resolution came on a crisp autumn day, 5 years from that fateful night. We renewed vows in a small ceremony overlooking the Brooklyn Bridge, symbolizing cross divides. Aurora Flower Girl beamed. Mommy and Mama forever. Friends cheered, Mia toasting. To love that endures. In reflection, our tale was quintessentially American. Ambition clashing with heart, betrayal yielding growth, romance defying odds. From one impulsive evening to a lifetime bond, we learned humanity's core. Forgiveness, empathy, connection. Sloane, once merciless, became a pillar of compassion. I, once adrift, found purpose in family and art. As we watched the sun set over the skyline, Aurora between us, hope swelled. What a wild ride, Sloane murmured. And I'd do it all again. Me too, for the love that turned chaos into home.